This is a masterclass. We are opening up to everyone right now. We do have some masterclasses that are just for clients, but right now this one's open to everyone, and we'll be doing a few others. So, and we've also done others that are just webinars that aren't specifically on a masterclass level, but a webinar that we talked, I think January was on the budget. So what should your budget be? How should you spend that budget? Then we talked in February more about SEO, and I'm blanking on what we did March for, but I'll look. And then this class is on rebuilding on the special on calls. The next one we're going to do, which by tomorrow or Monday we should be out have, if you guys want, is we're doing prompts on AI to help you in your business. So we'll be offering that, and then we'll actually have again, kind of a masterclass or webinar on how to use AI in your business. So that's the upcoming one. So, make sure that you're on our email list to get all the advance notice for all of these. And then again, if you missed any, you can go to the YouTube channel. Usually within 2 or 3 days, we have it edited and up. So you just go to YouTube and search Remodelers Marketing Crew, or at the end, I'll have a link. So one thing you might want to do if you want to follow along is you might want to have a copy of the download right here. So I've also just put it in the chat for you, but also here's the download. Whoop, that link did not work. There, it did work this time. So when you click on the link, it's going to ask you to make a copy. So you just make a copy, and then you'll have a copy of this for yourself. So it's just an outline. It's not everything. Yep, not every single word I say on here, but it's an outline for you to follow through. And again, that's in the chat because obviously you can't click this here. Okay, so let's get started. I'm trying to keep this under an hour. So maybe a little bit less if possible, but we'll have times for question and answers at the end. And if you have any questions in between, also just put it in the chat, and I'll try to monitor the chat as well and watch that. So let me make sure that's opened. Yeah, great. So I'm watching that as well. So first of all, why should you spend this 45 minutes, hour with me? Well, I've had 10 years of experience in the remodeling industry. We've had more than 50 businesses that we've increased revenue from working with us. I'm the author of Stop Wasting Your Money, the Remodeler's No BS Guide to Digital Marketing that actually works, which hopefully should be out by it might be more like summer rather than late spring, since we're already in late spring. But we're working on it. Spoken many industry events. I'm widely accepted as a premier expert in internet marketing for remodeling. And we work with remodeling businesses all over the country. So I don't think we have all 50 states yet, but we do have all over the country. Kind of an interesting aside of myself is that I do have a doctorate degree in business administration. I've taught finance, marketing, entrepreneurship, and I was the director of the Entrepreneurship Center at the university I worked at. So yeah, I have a really good background in doing this. I won't give you the long story of that, because more important for this particular workshop is my experience in working with customers, my customer experience. So, I started way back in high school, working at like department stores, through college, working at like a print store where I was the front of the face, the face of the front face of the business itself. I actually was a stockbroker for a while. Yeah, I was a stockbroker at times when the market crashed, 5-10% in a day. And believe me, that takes really dealing with some upset clients. I had people calling me saying, "Hey, did I lose my pants?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, and send your shirt." Yeah. So the other key thing is I've been working in this industry, as I said, for 10 plus years. And when I started, it was really like me and a couple other people. And we listened to the calls just to see, were they real leads or not? Because we get probably, for every lead, we probably get 10 other calls, maybe 20 other calls. So we started listening to them, and I was saying, oh, well, we could tweak some of them, help people out. Then more recently, I hired a new COO, and she's trying to get to know the business, and she was listening to the call. She's like, we could really use some help on that. And so we kind of get together and talked about what are the ways that we can help our clients and prospective clients, just remodelers in general, with this call issue. So that's why we came and developed this to try to help you. And, honestly, a little bit selfishly, I want all my clients to be better at the phone and making these calls, because that will help close the leads that we get them. So getting the leads is only, part of the job. You also have to close them. So that's part of it. I actually I was outlining while I was doing this one, another one on sales. So I think we're gonna kind of work with that as well. And I'll put myself maybe over here. I'm just a little big, I think. Maybe I'll make myself a little smaller. There we go. Anyway, phone interactions, right, shape customer satisfaction, right? So in today's world, we know people like, believe me, I've been a professor for a long time, and the longer I'm in it, the more I know that everybody prefers messages and email. They don't like to talk. Okay, but in our business, right, as remodelers, people are calling generally. They may fill out a form first, but most of the time they may send out a text or a form, but most of the time that first interaction to set up that first appointment with them is going to be a call. And that single call can really define the customer's perception of your company. So it's very important, right? So we want to think about this, first impressions. Customers decide within seconds. I believe the next slide shows you that there's been studies. It's really within 7 seconds. So, that's why we're always talking about how your ads have to catch somebody in 7 seconds, and you're probably less than an ad. And your website has to catch somebody to stay there, right? So it's very important to catch them. So that, and it builds trust on that first call. So emotions are stronger over the phone, right? That you can have your tone of voice. You've got active listening playing a huge role, which we're going to talk about more. So we really have to play into, we're missing, I did have this written down, I forget how much of the emotion. Where was my notes? So 55% of communication is body language, 38% is tone of voice, and only 7% is words. Okay, so obviously on this phone call, we're not having body language kick in, but we do have some choice of our words, right? So 45% is choosing, but most of it, 38% of that is going to be our tone. So we're going to talk a lot about that. This is an opportunity to build loyalty, right? This is more maybe not your first call, but later on. So a well-handled call with a frustrated customer, which is also something we're going to talk about. If you handle that well, they can be a loyal advocate, meaning they're loyal to you, and they may say to somebody else, yeah, we worked with XYZ company, and we had some issues, but they always took care of it, and they always communicated, and the project came out great, right? So they're going to be your advocate. And bad calls can learn to customer churn, right? So you may lose that customer halfway through. You may, even worse, have them go out and tell everyone that you're not doing a great job. So we want to make sure that we don't have poor service or long wait times, and we give good, effective solutions to clients, which is what we're going to talk at. So, mastering these phone interactions, we're not talking about just answering the phone, right? We're talking about creating an experience, a positive experience that keep our customers engaged and satisfied with us. Okay, so what are we going to learn? By the end of this masterclass, right, you should have the skills, the confidence, and confidence to handle calls professionally, efficiently, and with empathy. So we're going to talk about setting the right tone. So building trust from that very first hello. Active listening skills. Let's talk about how to develop our active listening skills. Handling customer scenarios. So we're going to actually go through scenarios and then actually a case study. How would we handle these simple questions to complaints? And de-escalating strategies. So how do we de-escalate? And then if we couldn't de-escalate, what do we do when we escalate? Okay, so setting the tone. So we know that it takes about, oops, there it is, it came up second. The first part, right, is making a good impression, establishing trust. Remodeling is expensive, right? It's a significant investment with people. So, they want to make sure that they're in good hands, right? So again, we talked about 7 seconds to form an opinion. So picture this, we got a customer, seems, he seems a little rushed on the call, and he hears this. Hey, this is Robert, what do you need? Whoa, right? I'm like, okay, versus, good morning. Thank you for calling Rogers Remodeling. This is Roger. How can I help you today? Right? What do they know now? Right? Who are you going to trust more? Right? Now they know, yes, I did get the right company. They're greeting me nicely. Hello. And they don't know how they can. I know the guy's name and how can I reach you today? Right? So want to build that trust, that understanding, that comfort level. So best practices for a first impression, right? First of all, try to answer in the first 3 rings. Wait times just frustrate callers. One of the things that we notice is like why people don't get the estimate. First of all, they don't answer the call at all. Okay, so and then they try to get back to the person. By the time they get back to them, they may have already, contacted 3 other people and feel like they don't even need anyone else to come out. And so you may never contact them again. So really try to answer that call. Then trying to get them in the first 3 rings. So now we got them on, but why didn't we get right? The goal of that first call is to find out, number one, do you want to go for the estimate? Some people maybe just, tire kickers or have 0 idea how much it costs to do a bath or kitchen remodel, and it's way out of their ballpark. So first of all, that's part of what you want to learn. Is this worth my time? And then the other thing is you want to get that first appointment with them to come out. That's the goal. So why wouldn't you? Well, one, you might decide, one, you didn't get the call. One, this is something I hear all the time. Hey, I'm driving right now. Can you text me back? Okay. Like I hear that all the time. Well, first of all, if they're my clients, we use a system that tapes everything. So, and I've told them this a lot of times. So you can just go through the whole conversation right there while you're driving. Don't lose them because everything's taped and you're going to get all those notes later. So I highly recommend a service like that. But also at that point, what's the chances? Now you've just given a task to that client, to a potential client. Now you text me and call me back. Like, they're probably like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that, right? So constantly are hearing that. Or when they get on the phone, they maybe don't get the answers they want. So we're gonna talk about like working through those answers. Try not to answer, can you hold please? It's another thing I hear all the time because they're on another line or they're doing something else. Again, somebody's like, they don't even have the time for me. Do it like we had mentioned in the last slide. Introduce yourself and your company. Make them feel at ease and know they're in the right place. Smile. Honestly, I know this sounds silly, but honestly, when I'm ever I do a lot of videos and reels for my company, for my advertising, and the first thing that pops up to remind me when I'm about to do it is smile. Right? Remember, smile into the camera. So it helps. Take a breath. I do 2 things. Take a breath, calm yourself, and smile. It just makes you sound friendlier. Use the caller's name once you've gotten that down. Hi, this is Roger. I can help you. I'm looking at kitchen remodel. Great. What's your name? Who am I speaking with? Right now, keep using that name. Try to have minimum background noise. Contractor yesterday called them about something and literally is like, oh, can't hear you. Hold on, can you hear me now? Even then, it was like, I'm like, so what do I first? I'm like kidding. Okay, he can't hear me, and also he's busy, so he doesn't really want to talk. So all those feelings are coming into me, the caller. So part of it is just maybe stepping back a little and thinking, oh yeah, how did I just make that person feel by doing that? Don't interrupt. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but we want to get the most information out of them. We want to learn about them. So we don't want to interrupt. And whenever you're ending any call, make sure you're confirming the next steps. Okay, so we're going to meet at such and such a day. Okay, so I'm going to be sending you the estimate. I'm going to set up a meeting to present the estimate, whatever it may be, or I'm going to have the owner of the company or our project manager get back to you at 2 o'clock tomorrow to set up an appointment that works out for both of you. Whatever it is, make sure that we always have those next steps. Scripts. So I know this is kind of, people are in that, but you know how your phone's being answered, right? And even if it's just yourself, you know how it's being answered, but generally you're going to grow, right? And you're going to have other people answer the phone. And so you want to know it's a script, right? You want to know how they're answering it. And you want to know that they know, here's that last steps, right? Okay, so now I've got the information on this person. Either I've already set up an appointment for them and now I'm going to just confirm it, or I'm going to have my project manager call them at such and such a time. Try to set the time. Just say, I'll have my project manager call you tomorrow. Now we're playing phone tag, right? So you want to think about all of the possible scenarios that can happen on that phone call and write them out so that whoever's answering will know what to do. And what's that going to result in? A team member who's confident. They know, I know what to say, I know what to handle in any situation. And we're also going to talk a little bit later about what about that situation they don't know, right? How do we handle that? But we're going to have that covered. And then once we've handled that, that now gets added to our standard operating procedures in that script that says, oh, when this happens, we should do that. Role playing is great, right? Role play, light out. Hey, I'm a customer, I'm mad. I'm a customer, I'm in a hurry. All of the type of emotions we're going to talk about role playing. Big thing is why with scripts is you can't evaluate what you don't measure. So you don't know if your script's bad if you don't have a script. Well, I don't know. Sam's saying this and Janice is saying that, and right, we don't know. But if we're using one script and we're like, we're not getting the rate we want for those first appointments. What should we do? Well, let's change these little things on the script. Use it for a couple weeks and see. A/B test, right? Have one person do one do the other, do every other call. But again, key thing is with everything, you can't evaluate what you don't measure. So you have to know what it is. Then, besides just the role playing, listen to your own calls, right? And see how you can improve. If you don't have a system that tapes them, I use this little thing. I don't know if you guys could see it. It's called Plaud, Plaud. I'm not getting any money for it, but it's changed my life. It's amazing. I think it's like $169. And then you can do some uploads for free, but I think it was $79 a year for 20 hours of uploads a month. So when I'm on a call and I want to get notes, if let's say I didn't have that other system, or I'm not on that system for some reason, I put the person on speaker, hit this, it records everything. And then I don't even have to go write it down later. It just upload it. So I have that as well. But, listen to your calls, say, hey, how can I improve? Okay. So those are key things. Let's talk about your voice, your tone, your pace, right? So we just talked about how tone is 38% of it. So the tone of your voice is going to communicate more than your words, as we just talked about. And if you want your customers to feel reassured, informed, valued, basically, again, coming back in good hands. So you're going to be calm and professional, right? Avoid sounding rushed. Even if you start to feel like, oh, I have a meeting in 10 minutes and you're getting a little rushed, try to take a deep breath and maybe even divert. So, I'd love to continue this conversation and I don't want to rush you. I have a meeting in another 10 minutes with another client. Can we plan another time to talk? So we can continue this and I can really understand what you want, right? People are going to appreciate that 1,000 times more than you trying to rush through it, right? Warm and friendly, make sure that they feel important. And you want to be, trustworthy, so you want to show you're an expert and you have trust. You want to talk to their level. So we're going to talk about that, knowing your customer, like trying to figure out right away. If they have any idea what a bathroom or kitchen remodel entails, or are they like this DIY, do it for yourself, DIY guy, do it yourself person that this is a big job for them. So they're going out, but they really know what they're doing. Or they used to work in construction years ago. So know your customer. Okay. So if you talk too fast, which is probably I'll never be in this category of too slow. I got to watch this. I know there are some people that I've hired that are just really slow in answering. Now I know them and they're not in the customer service role and they're just thinking it through. I'm like, oh, okay, I appreciate that. But you don't want your customer who's not really seeing you. You want someone, I talk to them, not too slow and also not too fast, because especially someone who's also doesn't speak very fast will get overwhelmed. So we want to be clear and steady. So kind of one hint is match your pace to your customer calls. So if they're really upbeat and energetic, go with it. If they sound stressed out, simply pace. I want to slow it down. Start it where they are and then try to go, okay, can we bring it down so they feel more comfortable, right? If they're frustrated, be like, oh my God, go with them, get it. And try to bring them back down again, right? So those would be some of the hints of noting that. We want to use positive language and etiquette. So we have a lot of negative phrases. We want to make sure we have positive and solution-focused alternatives, right? So here's that thing I said before. Somebody asked you a question. Two things. One thing is, there's two errors here. One is, I don't know. I'm just saying that, and that's the end of it, right? And the person's like, well, who is gonna know, it's like, that's not my job, right? You don't want that. Or answering a question that you don't know if you gave the right answer. That's probably the worst scenario. So you really want to talk to any of your team members and say, like, whatever, if you don't know, let's go with this. That's a good question. Let me find out. And then remember, we're always going to end the call by the last step. So that's a good, now I remember you asked a question about this. I'm going to contact the project manager and I will be back to you no later than tomorrow morning with an answer. And then if you don't have the answer by tomorrow morning, you still reach out. You say, I missed the project manager, but we do have a meeting later this afternoon and I will get back to you. That's what's going to make your customer feel important and heard and valued. Price, right? Biggest thing, I get it all the time. You guys get it all the time. What's it going to cost me, right? It's like, I don't know. So we'll have a scenario here where we talk a little bit about getting them different things that you might do. Give them an average per square foot, if that makes sense, whatever they're asking for. Sometimes just price depends on your needs and preferences. What is your budget? Now we got them talking. Always want to end with an open-ended question. Or say, hey, I've done a bathroom for as little as 15,000, and I've done bathrooms that cost over 100,000. It really depends on your needs and your preference. Let's talk a little bit more about your needs and maybe go into that. So those kinds of questions. Then the quote. Okay, we got the quote. You don't want to just say, I just sent the quote. Let me know when you see it. Right? There's too many ways they can misinterpret that quote. The best thing for me would say is do it in person if you can. If not, on Zoom. Now you can see them. We're bringing back that 55% of body language that you're missing. Whoops, sorry. But if not, I'm going to send over the information. Can we get together tomorrow morning? What's the best time for you tomorrow so I can go through all the details? You want to be able to talk to them about the details. You want to find out their objections. You want to find out, well, if we switch this material with that material, would it be better? If we just left this one item out, would it change the price a lot? You want to talk to them about that. And then timing, right? Those are the two biggest questions people are going to ask. Or three, the price, what's the price going to be? Let's go through the quote. And then, so it's all about cost and then how long it's going to take, right? Because a lot of these things take a long time. So again, you need some information to give them that. And one of the things we're also going to talk about on another slide is be realistic. Give them quotes that make sense, right? Don't say it's going to be done in 3 weeks if you know it can't be done to 4 or 5. You're going to let everybody down. So really be honest with that. And sometimes they might come back and say, well, I'm thinking of choosing, the other company because they said they do it in 3 weeks rather than 5 weeks. And I really need this done quickly. You'd be like, well, explain why yours takes longer. I get this with websites all the time. I have this guy, he's going to do it for, 20% less, and he's going to do it in 2 days. And you guys are saying it's going to take 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm like, okay, well, let me explain what would be different. We could do it in that quickly, but let me tell you how we would do it and what the results would be versus if we did it this way, right? So explain why, why it would take you longer in the details that you go into. So the checklist for setting the right tone, so I kind of have a checklist, and they're also all listed on that handout. If you didn't, it's in again, anyone came late, it's in the chat, and I'll mention it again at the end, and you can always contact us at Remodelers Marketing Crew, and we'll get it to you. But okay, so speak clearly and confidently. Trust you're in good hands. Match the tone to your customers' emotions, right? They're frustrated. Go, oh God, empathy, and bring them back down. Use positive language, avoid negative, can-do attitude, right? That's one of the main values of our company, can-do attitude. And if we don't have anyone that's got a can-do attitude, they won't last at our company. So that's really key. Keep explanations simple and clear. Know your audience, right? Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Show empathy when adjusting, when you're talking about concerns. So I think we're missing something on this slide. So we want to really listen. So we talk about the secret to active listening. We want to tune into their emotions, mirror, or label. So we'll talk about each of those. So label, like repeating to ensure understanding. That's kind of labeling. So we'll talk a little bit about those in a second. But here's four typical, there's lots of emotions, but four typical emotions customers come in with. They're excited. I'm finally gonna do this kitchen remodel. It's happening really quick. I'm excited to do this, right? That's great. Mirror them, right? We're acting the same way. Mirroring is a little bit different, but acting, yes, that's great. We love help homeowners doing this. So is this your first kitchen remodel project? Tell me more about it. Get that open-ended questions going. And then, moving on to that, say the labeling, say, so you're looking for, after they listen a little bit, so make sure you understand too. So you're looking to do a full kitchen remodel. Well, no, so then it gives them that chance to self-correct. Well, no, right now we're thinking we're gonna probably just start with redoing the counters and the cabinets. Later, we might look at appliances and the flooring, but let's think of what we're gonna start with. Okay, so I understand. It's not a full kitchen remodel, but you might be open to those suggestions. Right now, though, you're really concerned with the counters and the cabinets. Right? Yeah, that's true. But you want to understand us. But if you have some suggestions, sometimes we'll listen open to those too, right? Anxious and nervous, right? A lot of hums. I don't know. Get like you feel it. You feel that hesitancy. But and we know this is a big decision. It's an expensive. It's a significant amount of money, and it's a big decision. So let's make sure we do this step by step so we understand everything. So let's start at the beginning, right? Calm them down. Frustrated. Usually these are the people that they've tried a bunch of contractors who haven't gotten back to them, right? Contractors have come and didn't send the estimates. It's amazing, we hear both of those. The contractor doesn't show up when they make an appointment, or they did show up, but they didn't ever send the estimate. Or they've dealt with a contractor that unfortunately didn't do a good job for them. So they're a little frustrated with this, right? So empathize. I hear your frustration. I want to work this out. I want to help you. Let's figure this out together. So tell me a little bit more about what happened before. Let them tell their story. Listen. One of the biggest mistakes people make here, and I've caught myself doing it, right, don't have to worry, that won't happen with us, right? That's not gonna work, right? They want to be listened and heard. Then you can walk through the steps, get them to trust you. But just saying, don't worry, we would never do something like that, instead of listening to them and cutting them off, isn't going to do it. Listen, understand, say, well, let's talk about our process and what we would do. And talk like that. Okay, uncertain, a lot of questions. What would go first? What would I do? What would they don't understand the process at all. A great question. Right. Oh, it's a great question. Great question. Let me walk you through how this process works, right? And then start from there. Okay, so mirroring. So labeling is we kind of summing up what they said so that they can agree. So let me understand. With the frustration. So let me understand. At the end of what they talk about this bad contractor. So you've worked with some bad contractors and you're a little wary about hiring someone to do the kitchen after your last experience. Is that correct? Would that be a fair? Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't that bad. There was some miscommunication, whatever, but you're trying to now summarize, and it gives them the chance to self-correct. Mirroring is just like completing, getting them to talk a little bit more by repeating their last 3 years. So yeah, I do. We need to have a kitchen remodel, but we've had such bad experiences. Bad experiences. Stop. Or tell me more. Interesting. I'd like to hear more about that, right? But mirroring alone can just be that. You can't overdo it, so you might want to switch it up with interesting, tell me more. Oh, that's too bad. But you then stop. Let them go on. Remember, they should be doing 70 to 80 to 90% of the talking. So confirming information to avoid miscommunication. So we talked about, right, that label and repeating. The other kind of thing is at the end, make sure you confirm all the information and summarize it. So make sure your lead understands what they got into, right? Understands, make sure you understand what you making sure that you have the correct information and summarizing it. So is it that the project manager is going to call them tomorrow at 2? Is it that they're going to go to the house? Is it that they're going to follow up by looking at an ebook that you're going to send them, and then you're going to call them back in a week? They need a wife also, or a husband also on the call. So you're going to set up a call where you have both people that are decision makers on, right? All those kinds of things that might happen. But an example, just to confirm, we have our apartment consultant Alex coming to visit you at your home. Generally, I might also at that point check the address at 3 o'clock. For your kitchen model, this is work. Other things I would really use, and we use all the time, is automations. We can easily set these up for anyone who's interested. But right after that appointment, and he says yes, the first thing that I do after I'm off that call, or my team members do, is they get an email and a text message saying, we've booked your meeting, your appointment. In this case, they'd be going to their house at your home tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So say this was on like Tuesday, and then Wednesday evening, you'd be like, looking forward to meeting you tomorrow at 3 o'clock at your house. Thursday morning, see you later this afternoon, an hour before, we should be there then. It reminds them, it looks professional, and if they have to change it, you don't have to spend maybe a round trip hour going to the person's house as well. So why is this important? Right? It ensures the customer and you are on the same page, reduces the risk of misunderstandings, and it gives the customer confidence in your expertise. Well, most people aren't handling it this way. You may think these are really basic, but I can tell you, as I listen to hundreds and thousands of calls, most people are not handling it this way. So that little edge, when someone feels confident at the end of that call, will help you. Oops. What are the top mistakes to avoid? Talking more than listening. Okay, so I've already kind of talked about this. However, you're going to monitor it, look at it, make it a goal. I would make it a goal first to be like, okay, they talk 60% of the time, then 70. I'm up to like 80% now. That would be my goal, that they do most of the talking. Not managing expectations. So we've already kind of talked about this a little bit. Be honest. If you're trying to compete because someone else has 3 weeks, but it's going to take 4 or 5, it's going to come back to bite you if you say you could do 3 and you can't just to get the sale. And not just for this customer, but probably for their whole attitude and any referrals or recommendations or bad reviews. So really make sure you set the right expectations and explain why, right? Using industry jargon. So we talked about this already a little bit. Understand your audience. So if you start talking too basic, someone that really understands it will start filling it in. And you'll be like, okay, now I can up it a little bit of a level. They know. But you don't want to start with, as I said here, we'll install 3-centimeter quartz, right? People are like, whoa, they don't understand it. And it makes them feel stupid to ask the question. Not everyone, some people will be like, well, I don't get that, tell me more. But some people will get intimidated and maybe even not feel smart, like I should know this. And you never want to put them in that position. So you want to really keep it simple. And if they'll let you know if they need more. Okay. So the checklist for active listening and communication, right? Repeat or rephrase their main concern. You want to confirm if there's any misunderstanding and you want them to talk more about it. Oh, always ask open-ended questions, right? We don't want yeses and nos. We'll talk a little bit about sometimes you want that at that maybe the end of the call, like, so would it be a really outrageous idea if we set up a call for me to come out and talk to you? Right? That's a no. Why no's? Well, people are more likely to not feel like they're making a commitment with a no. If they say yes, they're making a commitment. But you say, would it be crazy if I came out to the house and took a look so I could give you an estimate? Right? That's going to get a no answer. So they'll be like, oh, it just seems a little bit less like that they're making a commitment. So, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in the sales meeting, but open-ended. In general, you're trying not to get yes and no's. You're trying to learn. What do they need? What do they want? What are their fears? Avoid interruptions or jumping to conclusions, right? If you're going to do number 1 here, you're not going to get jumped to conclusions, and you're not going to be doing you're letting them do the talking. Take notes. Again, I mentioned my little plot or something. Find a good way to take notes that are easy to track and follow up. I highly suggest a CRM or something like that as well. Okay, so let's look at some different scenarios with different customers that might be. So here we're talking about a confused customer. So we want to guide with patience here, right? We've got somebody who's confused. So potential customer calls about unsure about deck remodeling. We use deck in these examples because they're simpler than using a whole kitchen remodel. They don't know what materials to use or how long and how much it costs, right? So they start, hi, this is their first call. You've already answered, hi, this is Joe's Decks. This is Joe speaking, how can I help you? Hi, I'm thinking about remodeling my deck, but I don't know where to start. I'm not sure if I should use wood or composite. I don't know what the process is like, right? So you're telling you, they're asking questions, right? They're in the, they fit that total, right? They're confused. They don't know. Great questions, right? Right away. You're not alone like this. Again, and empathy. You're not alone. You're not the only one. You're not a dummy, right? This happens all the time. First step is deciding the right materials based on your budget, your preference, and what you're looking for. So, like, is it the natural wood look? Is it the look you're more interested in your deck, or is it like the maintenance? Are you worried more about how much maintenance it would be? Right? Start asking them questions. Okay, so we're preference on the look. All right, let's go that direction with your materials, right? Or what are you thinking of a budget for this? Do you have an idea of what your budget is? No, not really. I don't know. Okay, so those kinds of things. Winning strategies, right? Break it down to steps. First, let's select some materials. Then let's think about the design. Let's schedule your construction. You're walking them through so they're not confused anymore, right? How do you want to use your deck, right? So that might give you some ideas. Do they just want to go out there and read, sunbathe, and have privacy? Do they love to entertain? That can give you some ideas. Reassure, we're going to handle everything. It's like, oh, do we have to get permits? I'm not sure if it's set too close to the woods, or I have some wetlands. Don't worry about it. We're going to go and we've worked in this town before. We're going to be able to work with you on this. And then the next steps, right? We're never going to end without the next steps. Would you like to schedule a free consultation to go over designs? Or would it be crazy if I came out and gave you a free consultation and go over some designs with you? Well, no, it wouldn't be. Okay. The angry customer. Okay, so now hopefully this isn't the first call that they're the angry customer, but we want to de-escalate, right? So they call. They're upset. Maybe it's a delay, unexpected costs, whatever it may be. I was told my desk would be finished on Friday. Now you're saying it's going to take longer. This is ridiculous, right? I completely understand your frustration, right? You're gonna go, like even go, if they're really yelling, even go, meet in the meeting. I understand your frustration. And now you're starting to try to bring it down. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. I check with the project manager and get an update, because maybe right now, maybe you don't know. Maybe we never told them it was Friday, but you don't want to say that. Maybe we did tell them a Friday. What's the holdup? Was it weather? Was it supplies? What is it? So let me look into this and get back to you. I will get back to you within the next hour, right? Now they have some time to de-escalate too. And an hour won't seem as bad as it did right then, more than likely. Not always, but so winning strategies, right? Stay calm, hear them, I listen, I hear your concern. I want to help you find a solution, right? Apologize. If it is yours, I'm truly sorry for this inconvenience. But either way, we're sorry for the inconvenience, but was it a misunderstanding, or was it delivery? Was it weather? Was it completely your fault? I'm sorry the project manager told you that. We never had that scheduled. This is our fault. Yeah. And then is there something else you can do? Offer a solution. And again, I'll call you back with an update. Make sure if you offered a solution, is it acceptable to them, and move on. But whatever you do, do not argue, right? Don't interrupt them. Let them get it off. Let them get it out. Let them feel listened to. Don't argue with them. It's not going to help anybody. No, that's not what happened. That's certainly not going to help anyone. And never blame the customer or your team, right? It's just like, even if it was like, I'm sorry, we've had it down at one thing in our projects, and it was miscommunicated another way, and we're extremely sorry about that. But you're not calling someone on your team out. That just doesn't beat. That's just not professional. The impossible request. Okay, so sometimes we get these things like, there's just no way. Right, so here, sticking with the deck, they call, and believe me, this is not made up. This happens, right? And you guys, I'm sure know it, right? Can you build me a 20 by 20 deck by Friday? It's like Monday or maybe even Tuesday. We have a big party planning. Okay. Wow, that sounds great. That's kind of a great party. So you're acknowledging, you've heard them, you listen to them, you understand their needs, they want something quickly. However, our estimated timeline for a deck of that size would probably be about 3 to 4 weeks to make sure it was quality work. Can we look into some other solution for your party that's scheduled, and then maybe we could just find out some other way to work with you? So is there another thing that can you have your party somewhere else? Can we put a tent up in the yard? What else could we do? But realizing, but we're not going to get this done for you in that amount of time. So be honest and solution oriented. We can't rush this job for your own safety. There are permits that are going to have to be done. We can't skip the turning process. It could end up hurting you later on, blah, blah, blah. I'll throw up alternatives. We can start right after your job, after your party. That way you can enjoy it. It'll be stress-free. We'll know it'll be done right, right? Educate them. Rush job can cause structure with issues. And stay helpful. I know maybe you say, I know a party planner in town. I know a guy that puts up tents. If you have any ideas for them, help out with that. So a checklist for listening and handling customer scenarios, right? Provide clear and simple solutions, validate, listen and validate their concerns, offer alternatives when possible. Maybe it's something that you can't do, but an idea, and then know when to escalate. So we're going to talk about escalating next. So even if you've got the best customer service in the world and you think you've got every single thing outlined of what can happen, things are going to happen. Things are going to arise. So you're just going to get that one client that no matter what you do, they're upset, right? So how do you handle these types of problems? How you handle these types of problems can make all the difference in securing the trust and ensuring that future business. So one of the best approaches we've ever used is called the LEARN method. So it's a structured way to resolve your customers' concerns before they escalate. Okay, so learn, listen, right? Listen, you notice, you see these, it's in here, everything we've been talking about. Listen, fully listen without interrupting. Let them express their frustration. Let them get it out. Let them feel like they're heard. Empathize, repeat the issue, right? And show understanding, acknowledge the frustration and calmly and professionally. Whoa, so wow, the wrong colored decking material came. Oh, okay, I could see, man, I'd be frustrated. And you were really counting on this being done at the end of the week. Let's see what we can do. Okay, but you acknowledge that you understand this is so frustrating, right? Take responsibility. If it was just somehow we must have ordered the wrong kind, or somehow the wrong kind delivered. Let's see. Can we can get something else in? When can we get it in? Right? Some kind of then offer realistic solution. Is there something we can find that's acceptable? Is it offering a discount, something that might happen? And then your next steps, right? So maybe you came up with some kind of possible solution, but you have to check if that would work. Or let me see if we can get the right one in, how quickly we can get the correct materials in, something like that. And then follow through. And we will let you know. We're going to look into this today. We will follow up with you tomorrow, let you know what we found, right? So again, now they've been heard and they know that you're going to follow up with it, okay? But when to escalate, okay? Sometimes there's just problems that is beyond your control. The person, they're just screaming, I don't care, I want to talk to a manager, right? And probably most of us have been there at one point in time, right? It's like, I can't listen to it anymore, I want to talk to a manager. So, or it becomes like a legal issue. I'm going to call my lawyer, this is what my contract said, or I want to get 20% off, and the person on the phone doesn't have, can't do that, they have to go to someone else. Or even after you've given them what your normal solutions are, they just aren't happy with it, okay? So what it kind of could use a script like this, right? We want to make sure we resolve this problem in the best way for you, right? This involves a pricing adjustment. So from this example, it was pricing. Our project manager, Jake, is the best person that can help us with that kind of adjustment. I'll explain to him the situation and then we'll get back to you, okay? So the key thing too, and I think it's on the next slide, is the follow through. I don't know about you guys, but I have gone through this so many times. It happens on my banks and stuff all the time. I find, I had this issue, this didn't happen. Oh, okay, well, we have to ask that. You got to the wrong department. You never get to the right department right away, right? Then they give you the next person. They ask for your account number, all of your information again, and you have to explain the whole thing again. They're like, oh, well, this really should go to this person. But again, they ask you the same thing, right? So make sure that the follow through is smooth. Tell Jake everything that this involves. So when Jake comes back, he can summarize. My understanding is that the wrong materials came in and you're going to be delayed and you're asking for a price adjustment. Is that the gist of it? Then the person can confirm, yeah, that pretty much sums it up, or no, there's the other things. So, and again, I kind of reiterate that if you have an SOP for every situation, right? That they're like, oh, if it's a pricing issue, it's going to go to Jake. If it's a weather issue, it's going to go to this person. If it's whatever it is, that empowers your team. So also there may be some things you say, this You can make a decision up to X number of dollars. You can offer $100 off if you think it's legitimate. Whatever it is, it empowers your employees. And then it may not have to go to the next level. They might be, okay, fine, yeah, I'll give you some money off and that will be fine. Or we'll add in a free cooler, whatever you may want to do. So checklist, offer solutions before it escalates, right? That doesn't happen, then we need to go to the next level. Keep your customers informed on the next steps, right? So if you say tomorrow, get back, even if you don't have the answer. Transfer smoothly. So we just talked about that. People hate repeating it. And every time they do, they tend to get angrier and angrier. So it doesn't work in your favor. And then document these for lots of different reasons. Possibly could come up again, possibly could be a legal issue, but also for future reference so that you know how to handle things like this. And now it now becomes part of your new standard operating procedures. So let's quickly look at a case study. So background, we'd say here's John. He's a homeowner. He's interested in adding a new deck to his backyard. He's never hired a contractor before, right? He found your company online, but he still isn't sure where to start. And he starts with those basic questions. That's kind of back that person that we gave before. So your challenge, right, is to, right, get a great first impression, build trust, and guide John through the steps. So what are we going to do first, right? We're assuming first that you're going to answer the call. Hey, this is Jane. I work at Jane's Decks. How can I help you today? Now, I'm looking at a deck and I don't know where to start. Sounds exciting. Do you have a deck already? Are you replacing your deck? You might even do stuff like that. I'd like to know more about it so we can start. Do you have any specific style in mind? Are you thinking about wood? What kind of thoughts have you had on it, right? Open-ended questions. So you're getting through there. So acknowledging his excitement and positioning you as an expert, calming him down, excitement. Oh, let's walk it through step by step. Active listening, right? Now we're going to say, okay, identify the needs. I understand there are many homeowners unsure where to start. And that's why we're here, right? So now that's why we're here. We're here to help you. Some questions can help us find out where a good starting point is. We're thinking about wood or composite deck. Would you like me to explain more about the difference? Yeah, you know what? I think wood looks good, but I've always heard you shouldn't use it because of that. Okay, let me explain. So you go into that. So you're making the process seem less overwhelming. Okay, then handling questions. How much does a deck cost? How much does a deck like that we've just talked about cost? Great question, right? And again, we've talked a little bit, maybe you've gotten to that point that you've talked about that you should be using composite or Trek decking or something like that. So now you might have a little bit more of an idea, but you haven't even gotten that far. And they ask, right? You go back to that. Decks can depend on the size, and you might want to give out a per square foot, or you might want to say, I've done, a pretty simple deck for someone that was only, $8,000, and I've done $150,000 decks. So we really need to get some more information from you before I can give you an idea. If you feel comfortable using a standard amount to start, that's great too. And then, we can customize for your budgets. And again, I would end with, have you thought about a budget at all? But that's really, what kind of a budget have you been considering? Right? Open-ended question. Call to action. Okay, then what's next? So now you've answered some questions, you're trying to get them at ease, you've given them the process, you've gone through and say, we've got some materials, I would suggest this based on the fact, maybe suggest Trek based on the fact that you just want to enjoy this and you don't want to be out there doing upkeep all the time. It will last a long time. But let's get out there and look at it. Let's look over your vision, take the measurements, and then I can provide you with a personal cost. When would you like to set it up for this week? Right? Would you like to set up this week? Right? Would it be crazy to do that and me have to come out? You want to go with the no questions? You get a feel like if they're on their way, just when can we set this up? If they're not, and they're like hemming and hawing, then you might use that. So, hey, what do you think? Would it be crazy if I came out, looked over your vision and make some measurement and give you a personalized quote? Okay. Well, no, I guess that wouldn't be crazy, right? So just some wrap up and some calls to action. So summarize some key points and next steps. Again, so we're going to schedule your free consultation, XY date. I'll send you a confirmation email, right? So invite them to visit your website and see past projects. Hey, if you want to get an idea, so see some of the projects that we've done. end on a positive note. Thank you for calling our company. We really look forward to working with you. We're going to send up a follow-up email, or we're going to, John, our project manager, will be calling you at 2 o'clock as we agreed on. I'm going to send you that ebook that talks all about the different types of wood decking so that you have some time to look it over in between now and our next appointment. So ideas like that. So the checklist for closing the call: offer any additional resources that you think would help. You thank the caller. Want to leave on a thank you and a positive impression. Send a follow-up email if necessary, and be sure all information is documented, right? So this may be now passing on from the caller to an estimator or a project manager, whoever should get that next, or maybe a salesperson to follow up with them. Make sure that happens next. So what are some takeaways that you guys have? Is there anything that has completely, that you want to share? Well, I can kind of sum up some of the takeaways here, right? Just major fact points that we talked about. First impressions matter, right? So because of that, we've got 7 seconds in the beginning, right? We want to make sure your tone, pace, your professionalism is set. It can set for the entire, customer experience at that point. So it really matters. And impress upon your team how much this matters. Anyone that would be on the phone with your customers or potential customers. Active listening, right? We can even make it a goal, people. Let's, like I did, let's make it a goal to at least hit 50%. They're talking, not you. Then up that 50, 60, so forth. And listen beyond words, right? And confirm the details. Keep confirming. So what I'm hearing is, so it looks like, it sounds like, right? Bringing all of those things back up. Handle the tough calls with confidence, right? So first of all, you've outlined most of the types of calls you're going to get, but you're also going to say, understand that customer may be confused, upset, maybe making unrealistic requests, as all the examples we talked about. So we want to stay calm, use the right techniques that we've talked about here, and focus on solutions. Use the learn method, right? Listen, right? This kind of summarizes a lot. Listen. Do I understand? Repeat. Make sure. Hey, do I understand that? Right? Make sure that you're doing that. Label it. So I'll label that feeling. So this is what I'm hearing. This is what I'm seeing, right? Empathize then. Oh, okay. I understand. Yeah, that must be awful. One of the things with the empathy that I see sometimes that people do is they'll say, well, don't worry, that won't happen with us. And it really is a myth that relationships are built on common ground, right? Like, oh yeah, that won't, we've heard that story before, right? But that won't happen with us. Listen to them, don't do that. Then outline the process, okay? Acknowledge, right? Any issues, acknowledge it. Let's move on, respond, come up with a solution, and then define the next steps. And make sure that with that next step, there's a timeline, right? And know when to escalate, right? That situation requires it. Then I've got to escalate that, get this to the right person, make them feel valued, make them feel like they are the most important client there. And honestly, just again, reach out to us if you have any questions on any of these at all. Your phone calls, right, are the first step in building trust with your customers. A great experience over the phone can mean a difference between landing a good client, right, and landing a new project or losing a potential customer. So what I challenge you is, what we find most of the time is people don't put this into practice. They come to these workshops, they come to the webinars, and they don't put it in practice. So I want to challenge you. Take three steps today. Evaluate. On your next call, pay attention to your tone, your pace, your clarity. How long did you talk versus what they talked? Practice active listening. Say at the end, how many times did I repeat and say and make sure I understood what they're saying, right? Even if you just did it one time more than you did last time, and you'll get better and better. Try playing with your team. Practice some scenarios. Okay, you pay the confused customer, you pay the angry customer. It can be fun and also learning. Challenge for next week, focus on one area. So here's 3 things, focus on one area. What is it? Is it handling objections, de-escalating frustration, guiding confused customers? Take notes. And then I really recommend creating these SOPs for every situation. Doing this empowers, I've seen it empower my team members. Like, they're not like, I don't know what to do, because they do know what to do. And I also know that it's always being handled the same way. They don't talk to, John and gets one answer and Susan and get another answer. They're getting the same answer from everybody because we have SOPs. Okay. So I really appreciate, here's another copy of the model here. And then here's our website. It's just Remodelers with an S, marketingcrew.com. This is the YouTube channel here. We do have Marketing Crew 24, but if you just go to YouTube and put in Remodelers Marketing Crew, we'll pop up. And I want to just end with one thing. Remember, every call is an opportunity to build trust and grow your business. It's really important. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it.